Never bump the hips to start the downswing. So in this video, we're going to dive into why that is such a detrimental move, and of course, how to do it properly. So I'm Jonathan Chan with JChownGolf. Let's dive right into it. Now I know, so many of you out there watching this are outraged right now. How can you be saying, don't bump the hips to start the downswing? That's what I've always been told to do. That's the way you start the downswing, bumping the hips. Yes, that was taught, but it is not right at all. I'll explain exactly why that is, because if you bump those hips to start the downswing, this hip bump here, so taught back in the day, I was taught it too. What that's going to do straight away when you bump the hips, that's going to level out your hip tilt. So your left side of your body, so for a right-handed golfer, will start to raise upwards for those hips to bump. Now when those hips bump a lot, what is also going to happen as a reaction, when those hips level their tilt, as we said, the upper body is now going to fall backwards. When the hip tilt levels and slides off with a bumping movement, the upper body will fall back. So that is going to cause so many bad things to happen. One, that's going to cause you not to turn in the downswing with your upper body. You might be able to get some lower body turn, you might be able to get those hips to clear a little bit, but now when that upper body is tilting so far back from that hip bump, you now are in such a compromised position that you cannot turn your body through there. If you do, you're going to struggle with a lot of back pain. That's next bit in there. It is going to really destroy your lower back. That movement in there puts so much pressure on the lower spine. It's unbelievable. This is where a lot of people's back pain in golf comes from, them obsessing about this hip bump. So, back injuries, we don't want to do that. And also it's going to get this club way too dumped underneath you. Now, if we're having the club that's dumped underneath us here, really under the path, because when our upper body backs backwards from those hips bumping, that club is just going to get stuck, and we're not going to be able to support that inside path with rotation because we can't. It will hurt our back at speed. So you're going to have that club fall way underneath your path. You're going to have to then flip through the golf ball to be able to hit it, because you're not going to be turning through it, so your hands and arms have to go. Massive club face instability, wayward shots everywhere. Of course, one last one. You thought this is enough, wouldn't you? But no, there's more bad stuff that can happen from this. Like we said, again, this is tying into the upper body has to fall back. Hips bump, upper body will always fall backwards. You're going to struggle with low point control, so you're going to hit the ball fat, thin and topped. Don't want to do that, do we? So, upper body falls back. That's when our chest is getting behind the golf ball. We know then, okay, what's one of the biggest indicators of where our low point is going to be is where our chest is in space. So if it gets behind the golf ball, we are going to ground that club out. A low point is either going to be level or behind the ball. Terrible ball striking. So let's talk about how to do it properly. So, okay, how do we do this properly? Because I know a lot of you out there are thinking, obviously you understood what can happen poorly from that. We had to condense that all into a little spot. It felt like I was rapping at some point. I was rattling them off there because I could do about 5 videos on why this is bad. So yes, we need a lateral movement. Like a lot of you thinking. You're thinking, yeah, well, I need to bump the hips. How do I get my weight onto my left side? Well, that's because we're thinking of it via weight. We need to think of it via pressure. We need our pressure to shift in the downswing. So, when I've seen from my videos before, I talk about feeling like that feeling of crushing a bug underneath your left foot. That's going to get your pressure in there. You can see as soon as I do that, I've still got good hip tilt. My pressure is getting into my left side. I'm not bumping away. Because my pressure is getting into my left side, you can see how my upper body is still on top of my lower. So if I start the downswing like that, moving pressure, not bumping the hips, you're going to see a bunch of good things happen. Like we just said, upper body and lower body are going to be nicely on top of each other there. So that's going to help us with controlling club shaft and our rotation, because we'll still be in good tilt. So as soon as I do that, club is now not going to get massively behind me, and because I'm in good tilt, my upper body and lower body are connected to each other, I can now turn through the golf ball freely to produce a good golf shot. I'm going to have a nice healthy lower back, which is going to be way more enjoyable for a lot of you. And of course, because my upper body isn't right side bending and tilting back too much, I'm going to have much better control of low points. So I want pressure to get into my left side, and you can see how that means my body is doing it. And then getting through the golf ball, not lower body going and upper body, seesawing off because of it. So let's talk about a drill to do to get this nice and easy. So guys, a little break in the video here to talk about online lessons on SKILLEST. So for a lot of us at the Northern Hemisphere at the moment, winter is here. So winter is the best time to work on your golf swing. So I have online lessons available. So if you want a lesson, one-to-one lesson online with myself here, you can absolutely do that on SKILLEST. So we have different options to do. You can have a single lesson, 2-lesson package, or you can also have a monthly subscription where you get unlimited lessons and unlimited contact with myself to really make the most improvement at your golf swing. And we see some extremely good improvements of players in their golf swing. Whether you've been keeping up with my Instagram account, you've seen a lot of the before and afters of my students, or even from a few videos here on YouTube, you can make some really good changes with online lessons. So if you want to work with me over that time, get your golf game to the best it can be for 2022 season, let's go in there and let's do it. So okay, the drill, definitely, if you've again watched my channel a lot, you've seen this drill before, because what I do with it, I get this alignment stick, I put it through my belt loops in my trousers, just like this, where you can see a little bit coming out on the right and a lot coming down on the left there. So when I see someone bumping their hips excessively, for me, I don't really phrase that as hip bumping. I call that just losing your pelvis tilt. So when we lose a tilt of our pelvis, so we know we want left side being lower than the right for a right-handed golfer, balls on the ground, we need to be tilted to that. If we see this now, starting the downswing with that hip bump, losing your hip tilt, see how that stick is now going to point away from me. So it's going to point down towards the target straight away. That's what we don't want to do. We want this stick straight away to be pointing down, so going down towards the ground and around. So that's you getting your pressure, where you still are laterally getting onto your lead side, you're getting your pressure into there, you're getting just the right amount, and it's going to encourage you then to turn, keeping the tilt of your pelvis. So for those of you who are thinking, well, do I stay like that all the way down through the shot? No, you'll naturally start to lose your tilt as you're going from sharp parallel to the ground into the golf ball. That's when your left side starts to extend up through the golf ball. Put a video up here, left side extension, important to know. But that's how we get that pelvis losing its tilt, is through that left side extension going through impact. That's when we naturally get that right side bend going through the golf ball as well. Natural movement of the pivot. So we want sticks point down and go around. That's going to keep everything nicely together, get you shifting your pressure, not your weight. Again, what a lot of you will realize when you're doing this with a golf club in your hand, doing exaggerated ones, stick going down and going around, you're going to notice how it's going to feel like and it's going to look like you're swinging over the top. But I can't urge you guys enough, because this is in so many YouTube comments, feel isn't real. You're going to feel like you're doing it in a practice swing. There is no way you're going to be like that with the golf ball there, unless you do things in your golf swing that will cause you to swing over the top anyway. So like for a golfer who has no depth at the top or really poor outer sequence moving, I'd argue fix that first before you do this. So just know that it's going to look like when I exaggerate it, that it's going to be over the top, but you're going to see when I put a swing on it, it's not going to be like that at all. Remember that for yourselves as well. We always have to feel like something's going a little bit crazy to get at your change. So stick pointing down, going around. Let's smack one down there doing that. So feels unbelievably good. I love this drill. I really, really do. I've done it loads in my golf swing. I give it to so many of my students, and I know you're going to be watching and you're going to recognize this for sure. That's for certain, because I give it to a lot of people when we're working on pivot, especially if you're a hip bumper and a slider there. Left side down, turning around. Really feel that. Really feel like almost someone's pushing this stick and then guiding this around just like so. That's going to get rid of that hip bump. It's going to be making everything in your tilt nicely. You're not going to be massively tilting back. You're going to have any of those bad things happen from it. Let's give it a go once more. And you just hit these pure crispy shots every time. Who is it? I think it's another golf YouTuber will say it's like crispy like KFC chicken, I think is what he says, doesn't he? So that's exactly what that feels like when you hit a good golf shot like that. So absolutely get that feeling. Of course, hit a good number of balls, hit a few balls without it, replicate that same feeling, and then go from there. Oh, the fluffy part of my mic has just fallen off here. Luckily the wind has calmed down. Put that in my pocket. So same feeling. Let's get that going around and let's hit a good shot. So guys, let's get pressure into the left side. Let's start that with our downswing. Not bumping it away. Don't want to be doing that. Like we said at the beginning, so many bad things are going to happen. So great drill to do to work on this. Good movement. Crucial to getting a good and just general pivot in your downswing. So if you enjoyed this video, of course, hit that like button. If you want more golf instruction just like this, hit the subscribe button. Of course, hit the bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video. So if you do this and you get rid of that hip bump, you're going to be playing a lot better, more consistent golf, a lot more pain-free golf as well.